Hello, everyone. It is Lee Andrews again with Live with Lee. And thank you all for joining us. Today's guest is Erica Zimmer. Erica and I met on a nonprofit organization. We're doing volunteer work for the same organization. It's called Design X Humanity. So I want to give a shout out to everybody who's supporting Design X Humanity. We're working very, very hard to break the negativity around, race issues and inequities and all that kind of horrible stuff that's happening in the world today. So please join us with that effort. Again, that's Design X Humanity. If you're not familiar with Akathame is an executive and direct hire search firm that I work with. And if you are in need of support within the marketing, communications, creative, digital, graphic design space, which also includes learning experience design and instructional designers, please drop us a note. We're happy to help you find who you're looking for or represent you. And one of the reasons that I've asked Erica to join today is because she's in she's not in a unique position. Many teachers across the United States are faced with making a very difficult decision, and Erica is one of those people. She is an expert in technology. She has an undergrad and a master's in that. Is that right? That's right, right?
Yeah.
And so she's really spent her life focused on using technology to teach other people how to improve their knowledge and skills and capabilities from grades K through 12. So she is an instructional designer. She's part of the teaching program within Vermont school system, and she is expected to return to school when, Erica? Next week?
Next week for teachers and educators, and then students start on September 8th. So we're getting close.
Yeah, you're getting very, very close. And the first question I want to ask you is, how are you handling this? What's going through your mind right now?
Oh, wow. I'm taking it one day at a time. It's scary. We're all just trying to do the best that we can under the circumstances. And I live in Vermont, and we're in a unique situation where we've been really good at controlling COVID. We're one of the best states as far as numbers go. It's not as scary here. So I think that is why not all districts are going face-to-face in-person school. My district happens to be one of them that has decided to go to in-person school. So they have let each district, the state has sort of been like, you decide, and left it up to superintendents, which is a very difficult position to be in for superintendents. And, my district decided to not just make that the superintendent's job. They actually enlisted a whole group of teachers on these task force, and the teachers are the ones that came up with this plan. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That.
No, and I did not either see that coming. So it was a little bit of a surprise to me. But I think it's because also our teachers are very kind and caring people and are truly and honestly concerned about our students and the families and the hardships that we live in rural Vermont, very working class, and these families literally cannot afford to not send their kids to school. So they're it's a very difficult position to be in as an educator. And for me, it terrifies me. I don't want to get COVID, and I know that our risk is pretty high. And we're a very poor district. We don't even have money to provide PPE for teachers. So
you don't have money to provide what?
PPE, no protective.
Oh boy. So everybody's got to provide their own.
Yes.
Their own.
Yeah. And, that also means, in teacher translation, that means we're probably going to have to provide it for our students. So teachers are probably going to be spending a lot of money out of their own pockets, once again, to provide protective gear for themselves and their students.
It's bad enough that teachers can't. Now, I have to give full disclosure. Hi, Joe. Joe Sokol is joining us today. He is a supreme being in the user experience domain. So we're very happy to see him today. So in full disclosure, I used to be a secondary teacher. That means high school or junior high to high school. now. And I remember how much I was spending out of my own pocket that was not being reimbursed back in the day. But that was reason number 3,682 that I left, public education. So
yeah, and you don't get paid that much as a teacher to then have to spend a large, a portion of your salary.
So tell me why it is. Before we talk about your migration into corporate, into the public or the private space, tell me why you think it is that teachers feel compelled to spend their salary, which is minimal to begin with, to help their students, and when the parents aren't willing to do that.
It's sometimes not that the parents aren't willing. It's just that they literally cannot.
Yeah.
We live in a lot of our schools are Title I schools, which means they are quite poor.
Yeah.
And I think that the teaching profession attracts people who are kind and caring and really want to do good things in the world and really want to make a difference. And, they go towards that, and they're idealists, and they want to help as much as they can. And then they see their kids who are suffering, and the suffering is deep, and they just want to alleviate that as much as they can. And they try as hard as they can. I mean, I know teachers who spend their entire summer revamping their classroom so it looks amazing, and sewing like little pockets for books for kids, and buying flexible seating and fun seating and bean bags and rugs, and so the kids come into an environment that is wonderful and welcoming, and feels good, and maybe their only sanctuary for some of these kids is school.
And I think that's the point I'm trying to make here, is that a lot of people automatically jump to the conclusion that the parent doesn't want to. In more cases than not, more often than not, my experience was that they simply couldn't afford to do it. And so as teachers, you see the look on these children's face, you see their need and their desire, and you just want to fulfill it. They become your kids. They really do become your children.
They do.
And you don't have to have children to have that feeling, right? I think it happens regardless. So thank you for your service on that part. I think that is teachers are the unsung heroes of the world. I mean that sincerely. Yeah. So let's talk about your career strategy, because this is a big deal, right? You've got 10 years of seniority within the school system. So why did you decide to leave public and go into corporate?
Yeah, it was a big decision. Obviously, like, I've worked really hard to get where I am, and to leave it is one, scary, and to go into a space that is unknown, I guess. But my decision is based around a lot. I mean, there's so many factors, but I guess the number one for me is, the way that the education system is set up for educators, there isn't a whole lot of room for growth and advancement. And I've sort of am in this gray area between teacher and administrator, acting as an instructional coach. So I design, all the professional development for our educators. And I also coach them one-on-one to help them improve their lesson and engagement and really make it super student-centered. So I'm not an administrator. I'm not quite a teacher. I'm somewhere in between. And for me to take the next leap would mean that I would become an administrator in this realm. And I don't want to be an administrator. I love the creativity of instructional design. I love the process. I love what I do. I love helping people improve their jobs and making them feel good about it in the process at the same time. So, and education has a way of kind of keeping you there, and it makes it really hard to get out because of the cycle of the school year. You have to you feel like you only have the summer to look for jobs, and you feel guilty if you leave the job in the middle of the school year. And some districts will come after you financially if you quit in the middle of the school year. So they really keep you, they really keep you in this like cycle. I hate to call it a cycle of abuse, but sometimes it feels that way. And the salary isn't great. Like I was that young idealist when I was in my 20s, and I wanted to do like change the world and change people's lives. And, in my 30s, I joined the Peace Corps thinking I would do that. And now that I'm a little bit older, I've, crossed the 40 line. I'm realizing I have to start taking care of myself and following my heart and my passions and my loves. So that's why I want to go to corporate. And also, change is so slow in education, and I want to fast forward. So many layers.
It's really hard to get a change to go through, isn't it?
It's so slow. So like anytime, like my job, my title in my job is called innovation coach. And do you know how hard it is to promote innovation when there's so many layers of people who make decisions that I have to go through first? It's just, I think it kills my creativity sometimes. And so I want to work in a faster paced environment. I want to work where I feel like I'm actually making change and doing like good things. And I just didn't feel like I was doing that anymore in education. And I've come to a point, I've always believed, if you're working in education and if it's not working for you anymore, or you feel like you've come to a stale point, you have to leave. It's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to anyone. And we all know a teacher who just should not be teaching anymore. They may have started off with the right intention, and they have just, lost their passion and lost their love. And that's a very different classroom than when you go to a teacher who is that passion, that love, and it's just the learning is on fire. It's just a different experience for those kids.
So Erica, what you're describing is no different than the corporate workplace. It is absolutely the same. Although I will say the extent of the damage that can be done to a corporation if the employee is not happy where they're at is not ruining a child's life and their future. It's ruining that moment, maybe that revenue, maybe that product or something, not on that scale. But when you look at a teacher in a classroom who is influencing a child anywhere through the K through 12 system, you're talking about setting the standard. And if that standard isn't a gold standard, which is what I think you're referring to, and you are not willing to deliver that standard, it could really devastate and negatively impact the learning and the emotions of that child. I mean, when we look at the leaders of today, they're always referencing great teachers that they had. They always fall back onto that teacher that said, that was the person that really motivated me to do blah, 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 blah. At least most of them do. So let's talk about that. So I think that if you're watching today, and by the way, we've got Elke, I think that's how we pronounce her name. She said, hello, Lee and Erica, hello. I believe she's also with DXH, which is nice. Elizabeth Huber, Liz, our friend from our DXH team. It looks like we're surrounded by DXHers today. Thank you so much. Liz makes a really good point. I wish teachers respected themselves as professionals. Doctors, garbage men, fast food employees, nurses, etc. don't stay for unpaid work or spend their own money. Teachers need to stop making up for the lack of funding. We teachers care too much. We need to expect more from our state and country funding. We love our students, but we need to be brave and respect ourselves more. This woman is going to be, the president of the country one day, I swear. That Liz Huber. So go, Liz.
Liz.
Yes, Kristen, thank you so much. Absolutely huge impact. And Elke says, yes, she is part of DX. I thought I recognized her.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a great conversation to have about career management. And that's really what you're doing here, Erica. And it's really and truly what I do as a professional in this space. So when we talk about the concerns that you have in the public domain, in the public practice of making it difficult to get things approved, having to deal with the bureaucracy, having to deal with the politics, that kind of stuff happens in the corporate world. It's slightly different. It's actually a lot different because you're not having the parent to go through, but that parent could often be your manager, right? Your hiring manager.
Right.
There is a way to get exactly what you're looking for. And have you thought about that? Like thought about what companies are of interest to you or what industries are of interest to you? Because there is a way to get to where you want to go.
I have, I've been floating around, at first when I started this journey, I thought 100% I wanted to do freelance. But then that scared me because I don't know. I'm not ready for that maybe. And now, I've been really thinking about like, what kind of a company do I want to work for? And what kind of values does that company need to have? Will it align with my values? And, I've also set a number in my head as like, what do I value as myself as what I should be paid? Like, what do I think my number should be within a reasonable amount? So at the same time, I feel like those are like narrowing my ability to get a job. But at the same time, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I deserve to finally go in a direction where I feel valued more. It's hard because I have this imposter syndrome. And so to have to evaluate yourself and try to see your strengths when you really haven't been told or had the opportunity to do that, it's scary. And it's scary to market yourself because I feel like such a fake when I'm out there saying like, I can do this stuff, even though I can do this stuff. It feels phony to me saying it. I'm not good at marketing myself. I'm not good at like negotiations. So whenever anybody talks to me about a salary and I'm like, oh, okay. And I just go off like I'm done, So
all right. Let's take that one step at a time. So that if you ever need help with any of that stuff, you've got a friend. Right? Amazing. So Kristen is saying 100% agree that it's super important to find a company and role that aligns with your values. So here's my word of advice is that I would look at small to mid-sized companies. So this way you can be part of that discussion earlier in the instructional design process, right? So companies that, are under $100 million, you still have a lot of play in there and you can have a lot of say in those companies. The bigger the company, it becomes more like working in a public school system. You've got a big ship to move unless you work with a manager directly with a senior manager that has strong influence that can get stuff to happen really quick. Or if you're going to work in a large company, privately held company that aren't beholden to stakeholders, but they have one or two key people that say, yes, let's go in this direction. They can make decisions within hours versus weeks and months. I think you're looking for that. You're looking to be motivated by the company that you represent.
Yeah.
You're looking to, yeah. Yes. So when you're a teacher, you're motivated to do your job because you know that you're influencing a child, not just in that classroom, not just for that day or that moment, but for their life. That is a lifetime impression that teachers leave. And so to have that same, I'm getting goosebumps, to have that same sense of contribution, those are the kinds of companies that you want to work with. Those that are out to make a difference and that the mission and the passion to do something is totally in alignment with yours and that you can have a say. That's going to be critical in your next step. I also like what I'm hearing from you is that you are now coming into your own, right? And that's really impressive, Erica, that you are asking for things. And that you are saying, I don't know how to do this, and you're getting help. I mean, that's just like the trifecta. You're open to change, you're asking for help, and you're just putting yourself out there. You're fearless in this, and you're on a mission. So you will land, and you will land beautifully, and whoever works with you is going to be ridiculously successful because that's what's important in this job. Is that in the corporate space, it's important that we recognize the hiring manager as a customer. And so you've already got that freelance mentality of, I want to help a customer, not just an employer. Golden, whoever hires you, golden. So I want to talk about how you got to this point. Was COVID the final breaking point, or was it a series of events that said, basta, we're going to make a change and I have the guts to do it?
there was several series events. COVID kind of like pushed me over. I've been like, you know what? Now's the time. I actually tried last year in the summer to make this leap. I was not nearly as prepared. Um, I I didn't have the confidence to sell myself or to aim for what I thought I wanted. So I was aiming pretty low. I didn't really have a great portfolio put together at that time, even though I had things to put in my portfolio. I hadn't really built it out. And then eventually I didn't really get very far, obviously. So, and I had dealt with, some pretty disappointing events in the last couple of years in K-12. I had a moment last year, not this past year. This past year was different. But a year prior to that, where I was working on an all-male team and I found out I was being paid at a lower rate, and that really stabbed me in the heart. And, when I brought it up, they did improve my salary scale. But then there was like little acts of retaliation that happened, and it really saddened me. Like I couldn't believe this was happening and that another woman was doing this to me. So it just was kind of like, why am I working my butt off to like be disappointed like this all the time? So and that was kind of when I was first like, okay, it's time to go. And I had known for a while that education was not my ending spot in life. I had fallen in love with instructional design, about 3 years ago, through my master's, that I got a master's degree in teaching with technology and had a heavy focus in instructional design. And I had loved it. And one of my professors was, he worked in the corporate sector. So it was a lot of exposure to those tools that are used in the corporate sector and discussions around how it works in the corporate sector. And I just felt like that is where I want to be. That is where I feel like I belong. But I didn't really act on it for a while. Again,
so a teacher influenced you. Is that what I'm hearing?
What's that?
A teacher influenced you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Teachers influencing teachers. I love it.
Yes.
That's how it works. So you did something on LinkedIn. You posted something on LinkedIn that caught my eye, which prompted me to ask you to do this. You had sticky notes on your refrigerator.
Yes.
And so this week seems to be all about women empowerment and mindfulness and going for that ask and breaking through that fear. What prompted you to put these sticky notes on your refrigerator, and tell us what they say?
So, okay, they're like right above my desk. I was feeling down in the dumps. I got this rejection letter from a company that I'd gone pretty far in the interview process. I thought I was, almost there. And then nothing. It was crickets for like almost 2.5, 3 weeks. And at that point, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Then I got a rejection letter, and it was a pretty generic rejection letter. And it's just, I just felt like, this is, why am I doing all this work? I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't belong here. School's about to start. I should just stop and, wait it out another year and start searching again in the summer. And I have this wonderful mentor. Her name is Kara North. She's probably going to hate that I said her name, but she's wonderful. So follow her on LinkedIn. She posts a lot of great content. And she texted me those things. And she's like, say this to yourself right now. And I'm going to read them. It says, I deserve to make more money and be happy. I will not feel guilty if a position opens up for me. And I have no loyalty to an organization and profession that doesn't care about my safety and health.
Bravo. Way to go, Kara. Wonderful influence. That's excellent.
Yes.
That is excellent.
Yeah. And so I was like, she's right. Like, why can't I quit? Like when I get that job that I know is meant for me, like, And obviously I can't quit until I get that job because I need health insurance and I need to make money and pay my bills. But, so I decided like, no, I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep plugging away. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go all head in 100% again. So here I am.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Again, another instructor motivated a fellow instructor, right?
Yeah.
So the more I'm hearing a theme, Erica, the more you ask for help, the more help that you get, whether it is in the skills, whether it is emotional, whether it is career oriented, whatever it is, right? We just can't go this alone. And the job search. So overall, you got this rejection letter, you immediately felt you went into that imposter syndrome. You talked to your mentor and said, okay, here's where I'm at. She told you exactly what to do. You did it, which snapped you out of it. Where are you now? Where is your head now, and how are you managing this career search from this point forward?
Yeah. I'm full steam ahead. Like, I just know I'm actually, I mentioned that in one of my posts today, that even though I don't have a job, I'm enjoying the process. And I feel like I've gotten so much out of the process already without that getting that job is just going to be like the cherry on top. Like, I've learned so much. I've connected with like the learning and development community that I have discovered in the corporate world is like so much more generous and giving than I have experienced in the education world. It's so weird. Like, they're willing to give away their secrets, and they're willing to like, just like mentoring and being mentored is like a huge part of that community. Where in education, it's like, if you have a mentor, you're doing something wrong and it's looked down upon, or if you're being coached, you're doing something wrong. It's like more of a, a bad thing. And I feel like my skill set has improved immensely in the last few months, just kind of like brushing up on things, learning from other people who have been in there for a really long time. I'm taking these classes. I know we have fun in that Camtasia class we're in.
Oh yeah, loads of fun. Inside joke, folks.
So I am going to keep going. I do have to go back to regular work next week. So like, I have been working at this job search like it is my full-time job. Like, I mean, I put in a lot of hours every week in this, in just networking, skill building, applying for jobs, reading. So I have to, make space for my real job, the one that pays the bills, starting next week, and it'll slow down a little bit. But I'm not going to give up until I get that job.
So Erica, you're most people would be afraid to say what you've said during this live broadcast. Most people would be terrified.
Why?
And that's a really good question. Yeah. Why aren't you? Why aren't you afraid to say, I'm a teacher, I work in this school district, I work in, these are the challenges I'm finding, but why aren't you afraid to voice your concerns about your current place of employment?
Because change won't happen unless we voice our concerns. And things won't improve unless people talk about it. And I'm one of those people that have been silent a lot in my life, just even for my own good and for the good of other people. And I just don't think it's okay anymore. And actually, one of the big reasons I want to leave public education is so that I can start fighting it from the outside. So I can start pursuing legislation that can change it in a positive manner. Because I did have another disappointing end of the school year when it came down to talking about race and anti-racism in my district. And it was hard. And I just, at that moment, was like, I can't fight it within because I'm afraid of losing my job when I speak up. So I have to leave to speak up.
We've got a lot of people in politics that were former educators. And I think that they were motivated by that as well. And so I hope that comes comes to you as well. And if you do run for office, please do let our community know, because we will be behind you, 1,000%. And I can't believe that we are up on 30 minutes already. Thank you so much for all the DXHers who joined us today, for all the teachers who will be listening in. And if you are in search of an instructional designer, I would highly recommend, and I'm not saying this because I'm biased, but I have seen her work. I have worked with Erica firsthand. I know how she works. I know how she thinks. I know the process that she follows in creating superior learning experiences and content for her learners. And what she does in K-12, she will excel at for the adult learner as well. So I promise you, she is a safe bet. All right. I think that's it. This is a very touching segment. Again, thank you so much. Erica, if you can hang on, we're going to say goodbye to our audience, and you guys have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. Oh, look, Kathy's saying good luck. Thanks, Kathy.
Kathy.